Hey yo guys, I'm back here to give you, well, a lot of predictions here as I'm going to do my UFC Fight Night 17 predictions, my Jorge Arce versus Darchinyan predictions, as well as Sunday's TNA Against All Odds predictions. Gotta say, for the Fight Night card, maybe not the greatest Fight Night card we've gotten all time, but still, you know, a couple exciting fights on there. And I think the key point, as always, it's free when you get a Fight Night card, so I'm excited about that. Same with the Showtime Championship Boxing, you know, for the, 115 pounds, I should say, WBA, WBC, and IBF championships that Darchinyan holds, going up against Jorge Arce. That should be an epic war. Absolutely to this fight. It could be a new Fight of the Year contender, knocking the Andre Berto versus Luis Collazo fight from the mid-January off as Fight of the Year. And we got TNA Against All Odds, which really, as if you know me and pay-per-views that I have no expectations for, I thoroughly enjoy them in the long run. So could we get a case of that? Potentially. But anyways, let's go through the UFC Ultimate Fight Night 18 card, which takes night from the USF SunDome in the University of Tampa, at the USF SunDome, which is the University of Tampa, I believe, center there, or stadium, whatnot. Really excited. This is the first UFC card to take place in Tampa, I believe, ever, I should say. So I'm really excited for it, and they brought a pretty interesting card here. So let's do the predictions here. The first fight of the night will be Anthony Johnson versus Luigi Fioravanti. Really, to me, this is a nice, exciting thing. I'm happy that Johnson versus Fioravanti gets moved up to the main card due to the fact that Amir Sadala cannot continue. He was supposed to be on the main card, so since he's off of it, his opponent, who unfortunately right now I can't remember his name, I think it's Nick Cantone, he gets demoted to the prelims. Unfortunate for him, but positive for the fans who, know that, Johnson's been on the past couple Fight Night cards, so, it's still nice for him to get the exposure. Johnson's coming off that, excellent head kick knockout, a highlight reel knockout of Kevin Burns after the whole eye poke of doom incident, the one that on the UFC Fight Night card that went head-to-head with Affliction Band. Gets his revenge there. He's taking on Luigi Fioravanti, who has hands just like dynamite. He can throw like you would not believe. This one I don't see going the distance at all. I think both guys are going to, be explosive in here. Fioravanti is definitely Anthony Johnson's toughest test to beat, but I think the Rumble will rumble, and I'm going to take Anthony Johnson to get a first-round TKO here. I think, his striking's really strong. Not as strong to me, but I think he's going to probably use some combinations, mix it up, and then he proved that, he's got devastating kicks, especially, the knockout of Kevin Burns. I have to keep bringing that up. So I'm taking the Rumble and Anthony Johnson. Then we move over to the next bout, which is a heavyweight bout between Cain Velasquez and Denis Stojinc. Really, a lot of people are already, picking Cain Velasquez in this one. I am as well. I'm going to pick Cain Velasquez. A lot of people are expecting a complete rollover of Denis Stojinc, but really, to me, this fight, is kind of a two-way street thing, as, you got Velasquez, who's a guy that can wrestle and strike, and Stojinc's a striker who can't wrestle, so that's where I think it's going to go in his favor there. I think, Velasquez can, deliver some devastating ground and pound if he feels, but I think the fight will be standing, and he's going to striking and power to just, obliterate Stojinc and get the first round TKO. That's where I see this one going. If Stojinc, can make this contest and maybe move it to, a second round, which I think there is potential of that. Well, do I see it happening? No, but there is a potential of that happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Stojinc can, push the pace in it a little bit, but I'm going to have to take Cain Velasquez, as, Cain Velasquez is, one of the biggest prospects in the heavyweight division that, the UFC has up there with Shane Carwin. Nice that, the UFC now is, getting him on the TV with the exposure, and they're moving him along slowly with, some would say maybe a tomato can and Denis Stojinc, but I wouldn't go that far, but I'm going to take Cain Velasquez here. And it's just like I said, I think it's great that he's getting the exposure that, he well deserves, and, eventually down the line could be a heavyweight champion, so we'll see. Then we go into the next bout, which is Matt Danzig versus Josh Neer. The beginning of 2009, this bout was actually in danger of actually happening due to the fact that Josh Neer got arrested for a DUI over the holiday season. And remember, people, DUIs are not cool, so that's unfortunate. But it's good to know that this fight's still on. This fight kind of poses a bit of intrigue as both these guys are men's last opponents that they lost to met each other last weekend at UFC 94 with Clay Guida defeating Nate Diaz, who Clay Guida beat Matt Danzig, absolutely pushed the pace, was able to beat the crowd basically out of Danzig on the ground, control him on the ground game, and he just out-wrestled Danzig, which kind of shocked me to an extent. Neer put up a good fight against Nate Diaz, but it just wasn't enough as Diaz was able to get the victory. So where do you lie in this one? I think Neer with his impressiveness he could really impress me, but I don't see it there. I think Danzig, he's just going to push the tempo. He's going to use his groundwork, which is really strong. I would say it's definitely much better than Neer's, to push the tempo. Will he squeak out a decision? Potentially, but I think he'll try and go for a submission, second, or go for it through the whole fight, but I think he'll get one in the second round. So second round submission for me would be Matt Danzig. Then we go to the main event, which was supposed to be Joe Lauzon versus Hermes Franca, but Franca unfortunately had a tear of his either ACL or PCL in his knee, so that fight is off. But we're getting the replacement of Jermey Stevens, who is a training partner with Hermes Franca. Do we expect fight here? Yes, because Joe Lauzon's a very smart fighter. He knows that Jermey Stevens absolutely almost decapitated Rafael Dos Anjos back at UFC 91 with a vicious video game super uppercut. If you've seen, Stevens just wound up back and he just exploded on Dos Anjos' his jaw, and it just stunning knockout. Excellent work there from Stevens. But Lauzon knows that he can't keep the fight standing, so he's going to want to do two things. He's going to want to pick his spots, get some nice striking in there to score some points, then get the takedowns and control the pace there to squeak out a decision, or to control get the decision victory. I think Lauzon could get a submission, but I'm going to give Stevens the benefit of the doubt, being able to, have a good, guard control and whatnot. So I'm going to go with Joe Lauzon by decision. I'm excited for this card. This as well is when the next fight night card, which is taking place in another first city for the UFC in Nashville, Tennessee. So the fight nights are looking pretty strong so far. So I'm excited for this card. That's really all I can say. Florida has a big couple weekends coming up. They got this. NASCAR starting up there. But anyways, we're here for the combat sports. Anyways, then we move over to the realm of the sweet science of boxing, as we get, there's a lot of great boxing going on in the world, especially there's a bout in Argentina, which looks like it could be a fight of the year contender as well. But we're going to talk about the one that takes place on Showtime, the first Showtime Championship Boxing of 2009, and they deliver with a barn burner in Jorge Arce versus Vic Darchinyan. Gotta say, this fight is going to be explosive, as Jorge Arce is the type of Mexican-style fighter that, the Mexicans love and that the fans love. The fans of boxing love is he just goes out there and fights his heart out, busted face or not. He will just go out there, push the tempo, keep throwing on you. Even if he's got to fight in complete control, like he could just simply, De La Hoya Trinidad and just, do what De La Hoya did and just, cruise to the decision, which he thought he would have. But that's besides the point here. He likes to just, push the and just throw these wild open punches, which always leaves the excitement as the opponent can, strike a knockout. With Darchinyan, he likes to, push the tempo as well. He's a strong, boxer. Doesn't have as strong as chin as Jorge Arce does, as we all know about Darchinyan getting knocked out before, which, kind of exposed his chin a lot. But, he has proven his wealth. He's kind of a bad guy. A lot of fans like him, but I will give Vic Darchinyan all the credit in the world, as he's fought, a lot of the Mexican fighters in, California, as this fight's taking place at the Honda Center as well. So, you can't hate on him from, going into rival territory, basically, as Arce is going to be the big fan favorite here. The one thing I'm going to have to say, what can play a factor in here, I think, the fact on how Jorge is a big warrior may play a factor in here because, you know, he's a warrior. His face will get damaged, much like Arturo Gotti's face has gotten damaged in the past. That's how I see this happening. And can Darchinyan take advantage of this? As, you know, will he, you know, be able to, you know, damage the face up enough and, you know, take advantage and, you know, get a knockdown? I think, if anything, he could, you know, use the body and you go to work on the face, which will, you know, expose him to go to the body, and then re-exposes the face, dropping Jorge Arce probably 9th, 10th roundish to maybe, you know, get a definitive decision. I don't think he'll knock out Jorge Arce. Arce has an extremely strong chin, you know, typical of a lot of strong Mexican fighters. So I don't think we'll get that, but I think, you know, it could lead to him, you know, getting, you know, a couple big round decisions, and I think this one will go to decision for sure. I think, you know, the fighting spirit of Jorge Arce may play a factor. The never quit, the never die, always going to push the tempo, leaves this to be exciting. How do I see this one going? I'm going to have to go with Jorge Arce by decision. I don't know, I feel bad doing this. I picked against Darchinyan against Christian Mijares, and I was proven completely wrong there. I'm doing it again. I'm a big Darchinyan fan as well. I'm not, you know, one of those people who just hates him. I think, you know, he's proven his wealth. I mean, he's fought, you know, tough talent, and, you know, he's beaten them at home turf. You know, he beat Christian Mijares in the Home Depot Center, so in California as well. So, I mean, you can't hate on Darchinyan for that. So that's why I'm going to pick, but I'm going to pick Jorge Arce. I just think the fighting spirit, the fact that, you know, he may be a little risky, but just the fact that, you know, the power in the punch, you know, he just doesn't, he leaves himself maybe a bit too open, but I think he's just going to try and overwhelm him with Darchinyan with his style. So that's why I'm going to pick Jorge Arce. Then we move over to the realm of professional wrestling as TNA presents their second pay-per-view of 2009 against all odds. Gotta say, a lot of matches on this card. A lot of them don't leave you interested. The only things that really are interesting me in this pay-per-view, X Division title match between Alex Shelley and Eric Young, and the TNA Tag Team Championship as Beer Money will defend up against Jay Lethal and Consequences Creed. But anyways, let's get to the card here. I'll go from bottom to top as we always do. The first match is Brutus. Magnus has an open challenge. I mean, oh my god, I don't care about Brutus Magnus' open challenge. Probably be some jobber. That's just hands down. I don't know who they can use. They can't use Shark Boy. Shark Boy was, to me, the only type of person I thought they would have maybe used again. I don't know. If they use Shark Boy again, that would just be insane. But just expect some lower carded talent to come down and get squashed by Magnus here. Anyways, then we move over to Petey Williams versus Scott Steiner. And what could be a good match is, I believe last year on Bout Against All Odds, these guys had a match that was actually pretty good, as, you know, Williams and Steiner worked pretty well. How do I see this one going down? Well, there's two matches with, you know, with the exception of the main event, with Main Event Mafia guys in it, and I would expect in one of them you'd have Samoa Joe run down and, you know, get a distraction and cost one of them a decision here. I think that could happen here, as, you know, Steiner's been the one, you know, doing jobs recently, you know, putting guys over, which, you know, I'm actually kind of happy to see from someone like Scott Steiner. Get it from Petey Williams? Maybe. I'm expecting, you know, a potentially good match here and all, but I would maybe predict this match be the one where we have Samoa Joe come down and distract Scott Steiner. Petey Williams gets the win, probably via roll-up, where, you know, we think that they get that Petey Williams gets elevated even more when it really doesn't elevate him as well. Then we go to the next match, which is Abyss versus Matt Morgan. I'm expecting, you know, from what I've seen, you know, their little run into last week's Impact, this match doesn't leave, you know, us to be happy. Knowing TNA, they'll probably make it, you know, a hardcore or no DQ match as it goes, or probably not. They'll just probably let the hardcore stuff happen. But, you know, to me, you know, now that Matt Morgan's heel, I think it's a good thing. You know, Matt Morgan really wasn't viable as a babyface. He's much more stronger as a heel, which I think pans out in the long run. Abyss is back to being, I'm just going to pincushion Abyss, where he goes, takes tack bumps, table bumps, what have you, and hurts his career, in my opinion, you know, in that long run. But to me, I see this match being Morgan getting the win after, you know, an oh my god moment or a oh my god moment on Abyss, and, you know, gets the win. As this feud just begun, there'll definitely be a rematch at the next pay-per-view, Destination X, so Abyss will probably try and get the rematch there, but Morgan, they're trying to reestablish Morgan as, you know, a monster heel here, so Morgan to get the win. Then we go to the next match, which is for the TNA Legends Championship as Booker T defends against Shane Sewell. Really, do we need to have this belt? I'm sorry. The belt, yeah, it's $1 million type belt, but still, you shouldn't actually defend it unless, you know, it's necessary. I don't think you need to really defend this belt. How do I see it going? I think it can be the same way as the Petey Williams versus Scott Steiner match. Really, this could be a pretty good match. As you know, Shane Sewell, you know, he's a pretty good worker. If you've seen a lot of his stuff, you know, his Glamour Boy Shane or Superstar Shane, whatever you want to call him, down in IWA Puerto Rico, he's pretty good. Him and Booker should have, you know, a decent type match, but, you know, this could be the match, another match as well where you have Joe on it if you're trying to bring him back. I don't know. I'm not a fan of bringing people back on pay-per-view, especially something where you're not really, you know, this is a transition pay-per-view. You're just having it for the sake of having it to get to the next pay-per-view. So, anyways, that's my thoughts there. But I guess, you know, this could be as well when, you know, like on Nitro back in 1997 or 98, I don't remember the year exactly, but when Scott Steiner beat Chris Jericho, or, excuse me, when Chris Jericho beat Hall, which everyone thought it elevated Jericho, but it really didn't, as, you know, Hall after just hit the outsider's edge time after time again. We could get something like that where you have Shane Sewell get the victory, which I will, you know, I'll predict this. Now, I'll pick Booker T to win, but I think potentially what could happen would be Shane Sewell getting the, you know, win, but then Booker axe kick, axe kick, axe kick. That's what I could see happening, but actually, you know what the hell, I'll just for fun, I'll go with Shane Sewell. Shane Sewell's my prediction. Then we go to the next bout, which is the TNA Knockouts Championship match. Awesome Kong defending against ODB. This match, I'm expecting a lot of run-ins as, I don't know how well Kong's back is doing. I mean, she's had about a month and a bit to rest up, but I don't still think it's, you know, been enough time. This match will probably be the shorter match. This definitely won't be any Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong stuff that we got in the past, but, I don't know, definitely still not the right time to get the belt off Kong. Kong's the most, you know, over and viable knockout in the knockout division, and I don't think ODB's completely lost a lot of charisma with me, and I think a lot of fans as well, so that's why I picked Kong. I'm expecting lots of run-ins due to the fact that, you know, Kong may still be injured, but that's just me, and I think that will happen though, but yeah, that's what I see happening, you know, a distraction, awesome bomb, or implant buster for the then we go to the match that's actually going to be pretty good, as I have a feeling it should be. I mean, it's the TNA X Division Championship matches. Alex Shelley defends against Eric Young. The build to this match is blech. I mean, that's just me saying that. How do I see this one going? I expect, you know, a damn good match. You know, probably they're going to not do as maybe many near falls as you had in the Saban Shelley match, which was just excellent from the first pay-per-view, a Genesis of 2009. But still, how do I see this one finishing? I would expect, you know, Eric Young to actually now officially be the X Division champion, as you have Saban come in, make a distraction, or, you know, attempt an interference, hits Shelley with something, or, you know, accidentally hits a move, or super kick Shelley, whatnot have you. Young gets the win, we have a new X Division champion. Third time's the charm, as technically Eric Young's been champion like twice within a matter of weeks, but they just took the belt off him, so Eric Young to me will be champion. Then we go to the next match, which is the TNA Tag Team Championship. It's Beer Money Incorporated versus J-Lethal and Consequences Creed. This match I'm actually looking forward to. I gotta say, I mean, still, Beer Money's the best thing in TNA. And, you know, they got a new exciting tag team in J-Lethal and Consequences Creed here. As, you know, they're two young guys, they work well, they got chemistry. And, you know, they're with Beer Money, who can work with about anyone in the company. To me, I think one will just play off the fact that what happened on Impact is how Beer Money, you know, destroyed Consequences Creed's, one of his arms. So that's where it's going to be. I mean, clearly you're going to have, you know, Beer Money work over that arm the whole match. Lethal gets the hot tag. Eventually, you know, Creed, you know, gets back in and the arm becomes a factor. They, you know, either do a submission or something like that, hit his arm with the chair again and get the finish. Beer Money to retain. Definitely don't need to take the belts off, as Beer Money's about to go to New Japan, and probably with those belts on the line down there, so that's what I would see this happening. But I'm expecting a fantastic match. I mean, if you saw the triple threat, I believe at Genesis as well, most of the ring work was between Beer Money and Lethal and Creed, and as well as the Impact where Beer Money dropped the straps to them, which was just absolutely pointless, but still it was a good match, so that's why this one going. And then we go to the main event, which is just fucking stupid, if you don't mind me saying. It's the TNA Championship on the line. Sting defending against Kurt Angle versus Brother Ray versus Brother Devon. At least, you know, we don't have like 9 belts on the line as the last time. You know, Brother Ray and Brother Devon were in a match with the title back at, you know, Victory Road 2007. To me, I don't know why you'd be paying for this pay-per-view, as you basically saw this match on Impact in the main event last week. Even though it was a tag, same difference, it was basically this match. But to me, how do you see this one going down? Well, Sting doesn't like to drop the strap clean, as if you've seen his whole TNA career, he doesn't really drop the strap clean whatsoever. This is a wacky type match. That's how I would see the strap being dropped. Angle will probably get the fall here, as you know. Brother Ray and Brother Devon will probably, you know, 3D Sting and whatnot, but they will decide who gets the fall. Angle will sneak up from the back or hit both a weapon at something and get the pin on Sting and become the new TNA champion, which, you know what, he should be. He's the lead talker of the group. He should always have the championship. I've always found, you know, since this group has started back in, what, November of last year, that, you know, this was just pointless that he had Sting champion and he didn't even talk that much. So, that's my thoughts there. I don't know, wacky match. Hopefully, you know, the Angle can carry, you know, 3 guys in this one. You know, Sting, you know, he's still battling that knee injury, and Brother Ray and Brother Devon, well, they're a bit past their prime. But maybe, you know what, they can, you know, pull out all the stops because this is a main event. But other than that, that's it for me. If you still want to send questions, you know the deal. Inbox or email account. I got actually some great questions the other day or so. Really enjoy them, so keep sending them, you know, about anything on, you know, boxing, pro wrestling, and MMA. Would love to hear your thoughts. Always love to hear feedback. Please leave some feedback down here. And I always love to know your opinions on, you know, the Ultimate Fight Night tonight, the boxing bout between Jorge, Arce, and Darchinyan, as well as TNA's pay-per-view, which takes place tomorrow night from the Impact Zone. So, anyways, that's it for me. I am out. Peace.